x plus 1 slash y minus 2 fraction with numerator x plus 1.
Now imagine trying to solve a maths problem and that's all what you hear. Making documents accessible is hard, and making mathematical documents accessible is even harder. That's because mathematical content has to be communicated precisely to be accessible, and equations can appear in multiple forms within the same document. Okay, let's have a look at this example. The first equation was created using Google Docs built-in equation editor through insert equations. Because it was created as an actual equation, Inkable Docs recognizes it as an equation and lists it as such in the accessibility sidebar. But that's not the only way the equations get added to the document. You can also add equations as images. Some use extensions like this one that converts equations to images. Or you might just take a screenshot or add handwritten equations to the document. Visually, both of these look like equations, but from an accessibility perspective, these are two very different content. Without appropriate accessibility text, a screen reader may not be able to communicate the mathematical expression correctly. Depending on how the content was added, users may hear incomplete information, generic image announcements, or miss the mathematical meaning entirely. This creates a unique accessibility challenge. Not only do equations require different accessibility treatment than standard images, but equations themselves can appear in multiple formats within the same document. Let's see how Inkable Docs handles this. So to launch this, you first click on Extensions, then you'll see Inkable Docs as an add-on, and then you click on Launch, and then it runs an accessibility scan. When we run an accessibility scan, Inkable Docs automatically identifies the native Google Docs equation and the image-based equation. For native equations, Inkable Docs generates accessibility text that accurately represents the mathematical expression itself. For example, let's take this equation. Okay, we have our alt text ready. So the screen reader is going to read this equation as fraction with numerator x plus 1 and denominator y minus 2, which would make it so much more easier for users to understand what's on the screen. For image-based equations, Inkable Docs first recognizes that the image contains mathematical content and then generates an appropriate mathematical representation rather than treating it like a standard image. Okay, let's look at a specific example. Here, Inkable Docs has identified an image-based equation with a quality issue. At first glance, it might seem like the image already has an alt text, but if you look closer, the alt text is simply parallel resistance equation snapshot.jpg. While that technically counts as alt text, it doesn't help someone understand mathematical content of the image. A screen reader user would hear the file name, but they wouldn't learn anything about the equation. So to fix this issue, we click on the Fix button right here. Inkable Docs recognizes that this image contains a mathematical equation and generates the accessibility text that represents the equation itself. Now when we read the updated alt text after fixing the issue, it says 1 divided by r total equals 1 divided by 10 plus 1 divided by 20 plus 1 divided by 30 plus 1 divided by 40. Notice the difference? Instead of hearing a file name, the screen reader user can now access the mathematical content in the image. This is exactly why equations require a different accessibility approach than a standard image. The goal isn't simply to identify the image, it's to communicate the mathematics behind it. So to fix all these accessibility issues, you click on the Fix All Issues button right here. With a single click, we can apply the suggested accessibility text for equations, image-based equations, and standard images. Each receives accessibility text that is appropriate for the type of content it contains. Finally, when we export the document to PDF, those accessibility improvements are carried through into the final document. You can verify this in Acrobat and see that the equation's alt text is marked correctly. There you go. Here's the alt text that makes sense to someone using a screen reader. Making mathematical content accessible isn't simply a matter of adding alt text everywhere. It's about understanding what the content is, how it was created, and providing the right accessibility experience for every user.